Alright guys, so these notes should be pretty quick, so let's just try to get through them as fast as possible here. Solving quadratic using the square root method. So we're going to start Algebra 2 now, and the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to solve all of these different quadratics. The first method to solve a quadratic is to use square roots. So let's just review what square roots are. Remember, a square root is the opposite of a square, so for number 1, in order to solve for x, we would square both sides. What that would do is it would cancel the square with the square root, so we'd be left with x plus 3 is equal to 25, because 5 squared is 25. Subtract 3 from both sides, we get x is equal to 22, and then that would be our answer. Number 2, following the same idea, this time we have to work to isolate the square root, so we're going to subtract 5 from both sides. That gives us the square root of x minus 4 is equal to 2. We square both sides, knowing that square and square root will cancel, so x minus 4 is equal to 4. Add 4 to both sides, and that gives us x is equal to 8. And then the last one here, the first method we would want to do is we want to divide by 2. Okay, so we divide by 2, we get the square root of x plus 3 is equal to negative 2. Well, there's one thing that happens right here, guys. You can never get a square root equal to a negative, right? There's no such way we can square root a number and it be equal to a negative. If we solve this out, we square both sides, we get x plus 3 is equal to 4. Subtract the 3 from both sides, we get x is equal to 1. But if we go back into the beginning, so at the beginning of this problem, we go 2, square root of 1 plus 3 equal to negative 4. Let's see what happens. So that's 2 times the square root of 4, which is then equal to 2 times 2, which is equal to 4. 4 is not equal to negative 4. Okay, so therefore this is technically called an extraneous solution. And so then there is actually no solution for this problem, and that would be our answer. Okay? We knew that we were going to get this extraneous solution at this step right here because a square root cannot be equal to a negative. So if you ever get something like this, you can just stop and then you can write no solution. All right, let's keep going. Now, what if we had the following problem? How do you think we would solve it? So this time I'm starting with a square and I need to undo it. So to undo a square, we square root both sides. And remember, when we did this at the very beginning of the year, we had to do something special when we added square roots. We had to do a plus or minus sign. So that's going to come back right now. So we would get x is equal to plus or minus 6. Let's look at another one. Okay, so this one we're going to add 9 first. That gives us 3x squared is equal to 12. From here we divide 3, and that gives us x squared is equal to 4. The reason we do it in that order is because we have to do adding and subtracting first, multiplying and dividing second, and we have to isolate the x squared. So then the last step here, we square root both sides. We get x, because those cancel, is equal to, and then we have to do plus or minus 2. And then that would be our answers right there. All right, how is this one different than the last question? Well, let's dive in and see what happens. We subtract 9 from both sides. We get 6x squared is equal to, that's going to be negative 24. We divide by 6 from both sides. We would get x squared is equal to negative 4. And then check this out. X squared equal to a negative number. Okay, can we do that? Can we take the square root of a negative number? That would give us x is equal to the square root of negative 4. Let's see what happens when we plug that into a calculator. So if we plug that into a calculator, let's use this one. We say the square root of, and then we say negative 4, and we click enter. Look at that, it says no real answer. So what that means back here is that x cannot be this because we wouldn't get a real solution. So then we say no real solutions because that's what our calculator said. Okay. So we can't do something when it looks like this. If x squared is equal to a negative, it doesn't work. So then we can automatically go here. Just like when we were back up here, when we had square root is equal to a negative, we could automatically say that there was no solution up there. All right, let's take a look at one more. This time, we need to isolate the square. In order to do that, we divide 3 from both sides. That gives us x minus 2 squared is equal to 9. At this step, the square root is isolated. Okay, so then we can square root both sides. That's going to give us x minus 2 is equal to plus or minus 3. This is where it gets a little unique here, guys. We have to actually split this into two separate cases. We're going to have x minus 2 is equal to positive 3, and then we're going to have x minus 2 is equal to negative 3. Then to solve this question, we add 2 to the other side. We get x is equal to 5. On this one, we add 2 to the other side, and we get x is equal to negative 1. And both of these solutions are good answers for us. Okay? So that's all of the notes for today, guys. It was quick. If you have any questions, as always, please let me know, whether it's an email on Canvas or email to my school email, or come in to the Zoom office hours between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m., and I am always there to talk. All right, have a great Thursday, guys.